Meeting today with an invocation from Dr. Teresa Forshee, Branch of Hope Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Going to be led by Commissioner Woodbury's on her way, and she was going to do it, but I'm going to actually ask Commissioner Bessie to do that in her place. All right, Dr. Forshee, thank you. Come right up. Thank you. Sorry I didn't get to talk to you before. Doing good. Thanks for being here. Please stand if you're able.
Heavenly Father, we come before you this day, and we pray for this meeting. We pray for each in attendance. We pray for these elected officials. We pray, Father, that you will give each of these, Father, your wisdom, your knowledge, and guidance and understanding for every decision that's presented here today, that you give this to them. We thank you, Father, for your continued protection, Lord, over this city, over our county, over our state. As we commit this meeting into your hands, we ask at this time, Lord, that we pray for unity, for peace, for guidance, for understanding, that you'll have your way and your thoughts will be here among these, among each and every one. We desire, Lord, more than anything else, for there to be a camaraderie and a unity across our land, across our nation. Lord, that you will move in a great and a mighty way, for we need this in this day and this time, more so than we've ever had. Lord, give wisdom, give understanding, and have your way in this meeting this day. Keep your hand upon these. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Forshee, thanks for coming. A lovely prayer. Thank you. Citizens who are interested in participating in the public session portion of the meeting, please call 336-422-1200. You will be placed on hold until the public session begins. And I will say, for those of you who call in, that we do have a couple of public hearings today, so it will be just a little while that you could maybe join in and listen in the background. But that number again is 336-422-1200. And members of the audience who are interested in participating in the public portion of the meeting, please fill out a speaker card and return to the clerk. If you're here for one of the public hearings, you'll be able to speak. We'll have an opportunity for you to speak, and you do not have to sign up. But if you'd like to speak during our our open communications, if you will, you need to fill out a speaker card, and you are limited to 3 minutes during that time. All righty, excuse me. Paper sticking together. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing on a text amendment for the inclusion of graphics to our Unified Development Ordinance to illustrate certain dimensional requirements, UDO CC 24. Dan Rankin from Planning and Development Services is here, and he has given us a briefing on this twice, and he's going to give us a short overview, and we'll be ready.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt. You may wish to recognize, I believe, Commissioner Plyler is participating remotely.
I will. And yes, Commissioner Plyler is at home participating remotely and will be voting today, hopefully. And Commissioner Plyler, hope you can hear me, and we hope that you will be ready when it's time to vote. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Martin, members of the Board of Commissioners. Again, my name is Dan Rankin. I'm a project planner in the City County Planning Development Services Department, and I'm here to present to you one last time the proposed text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinances document, or UDO. And as you just mentioned, it's for the inclusion of new and improved graphics within that document to better illustrate the existing ordinance provisions for our code users and readers, and just generally to make that document more user-friendly overall. As I mentioned to you the last few weeks, the impetus for this text amendment dates back to 2018, when staff was working with an external consultant on the early development of the UDO. And at that time, the UDO included few graphics, so one of the consultant's main comments for us was the document could benefit from more graphics. So as a consequence, an initial round of 24 graphics was developed by staff, was approved in the fall of 2020, and staff also developed a consistent visual style for how those graphics were to appear back then and in the future as well. And the development of additional UDO graphics was a key work program item for our planning board during the last fiscal year. As I've mentioned in weeks past, the intent of this text amendment is not to alter the legal language or provisions or requirements of the UDO. Instead, we're just merely seeking to illustrate the requirements. A total of 93 graphics are being proposed, and again, these graphics generally utilize that previously established visual style. Staff, we did seek to strike a balance between having these graphics be too literal and too abstract, and we also sought to strike a balance with how much text was included. We didn't want to water down our message or overwhelm the reader either. And a majority of these graphics are brand new to the UDO, however, many of them are replacement graphics. Here again, we have an example of a brand new graphic. This graphic illustrates the general dimensional requirements for the residential multifamily unlimited district. It's also a good example of that 3D visual style. And one additional note with this graphic, we now have graphics similar to this for all the different districts within our UDO. Just about all of them have accompanying graphics like this. Here again, we have an example of a use-specific standard graphic. This graphic illustrates some of the requirements for the small home child daycare use. It's a fairly simple example of this kind of graphic. Some of the other specific uses, especially the industrial ones, get a little bit more complex, or really substantially more complex. This is an example of a replacement graphic. Both these graphics abstractly illustrate the minimum dimensions for parking requirements. Graphic on the right-hand side is the graphic to be replaced, and the graphic on the left-hand side is its proposed replacement. It's also an example of a graphic where we felt the 2D view was a little more crisp and clean to read than the 3D view. So that's the direction we went in. And the last example, this is an example of another example of a replacement graphic. Both these graphics illustrate the different types of yards within the context of our UDO. Again, the graphic on the right-hand side is the existing one, and the graphic in color on the left-hand side is its proposed replacement. So in summary here, I'll try to be quick. Staff, we do believe that the graphics included in this proposed text amendment do substantially complete the process of illustrating the UDO. However, we also certainly recognize that as things change in the future and as new planning and zoning concepts get introduced to the UDO, we may want to revisit these graphics or add additional graphics as time goes on. So the summary of past recommendations for this item, the item was heard at the early June public meeting of the Planning Board, where it was unanimously recommended for approval by the Planning Board with no speakers in opposition at that meeting. Similar thing happened at the early September City Council meeting. The City Council voted unanimously in favor of approving the item or adopting the item, and there were no speakers in opposition at that meeting either. So with that, I'll close. Thank you very much for your time again today and over the last several weeks, and I'd certainly be happy to try to answer any questions you might have. So thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for Dan? All righty. This is a public hearing. Speakers will have up to 15 minutes total to speak in favor of this request and up to 15 minutes total to speak in opposition. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the request? I'll declare the public hearing closed. Do we have a motion?
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie,
Second.
second by Commissioner Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Whoop, let me wait for Dave. Hang on one second. Dave, can you vote? Can you hear me and can you vote?
Aye. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Got you. We see you. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. And now the second item on the agenda is a zoning petition of Tia Jeanette Jackson and Lamika Lyles from RS40 to RS20S. A public hearing was held and closed at the September 21st, 2023 meeting. Chris Murphy, Planning and Zoning Services Director, will give us a brief overview of the request, and you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I do want to, I'm not going to go through the entire presentation again, as we have, it's been briefed several times, and you all have already held your public hearing. Following the September 21st, 2023 public hearing, which was closed, the county commissioners requested that the petitioner consider revisions to the site plan and conditions of approval related to an undisturbed perimeter buffer around the entire project, where practicable, and an enhanced building setback from the southern property line of Lot 15. This image here is of the revised site plan, which does show that 10-foot perimeter buffer where it can be maintained, and in the area where it can't be maintained because of the proposed grading associated with the installation of this road. They are proposing the installation of some green giant evergreens in that location to provide a continuous visual screen. And in addition, this revised plan does show the building pad for Lot 15 being at least 20 feet off of that southern property line. Both of those revisions are also included in your written consent to conditions information that is in your packet. I will note that there is, under the written consent to condition related to the perimeter buffer, there is a provision that in working with the petitioner, staff wanted to include, which basically says that that perimeter buffer would be there until the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. I know we did have a discussion about that at the last hearing. That was put in there for future enforcement. If we only had it in there until the time of the issuance of CO, the enforcement at that point would cease, and it would have been there throughout the time of construction by the petitioner. Based on that discussion last week and some early discussions with Commissioner Linville today, I have verified, and they will need to come up and confirm that, but I have verified that I believe the petitioner is agreeable to removing that 6-word phrase. It says something along the lines of until the issuance of a certificate of occupancy in that final condition. So in other words, that would be an ongoing perpetual requirement that that 10-foot buffer be maintained. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, I believe that the petitioner will have to come forward and verbally agree to that, and if they do and it's approved, we will modify the written consent to conditions so we have that for the file as the official record of what was approved by the commissioners. We would also have to change the ordinance or special use permit, whichever one has the conditions in it. So,
Great. Any questions for Chris? Should we invite the petitioner up to make a confirmation of that last verbal change?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Paul Stimson with LaBella Associates, and I'm glad to be here. I'm 939 Burke Street, Suite H, Winston-Salem, NC 27101. And yes, I'm the engineer on behalf of Tia Jackson with Blackjack Lands, and she is in agreement to remove the language, strike through the language that says until issuance of the certificates of occupancy. So those 6 words would be struck through. She's in agreement to that. And we've also moved the home on Lot 15 to 20 feet off the south property line, and that buffer will be there as well to buffer the adjacent land. And I'm glad to try to answer any questions that you may have.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm satisfied with the change to make it more clear. The petitioner, to begin with, the attorney offered 10-foot buffer. I guess it'll be area that they would not need in what they're doing, and so I thought permanent would be reasonable, but the word that came up temporary, and that's what, I didn't have that in mind, so permanent. And I don't see this very much different than a planned residential development, but I'm satisfied with the change.
Right. Anything else? If not, we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that zoning map amendment F-1632 be approved on the basis of the following. The proposed special use zoning map amendment as petitioned by Tia Jeanette Jackson and Lamika Lyles to rezone a 13.04 acre piece of property from RS40 residential single family 4,000 square feet minimum lots to RS20 special residential single-family 20,000 square feet minimum lot size special use district is inconsistent with the recommendations of the Legacy Comprehensive Plan, but is reasonable and in the public interest because, number one, the subject property consists of undeveloped wooded land located at the northeastern side of Ohala Road between Box Mountain Road and Phillips Drive, and is surrounded by land zoned RS40, RS30, and RS20, with uses being single-family houses and undeveloped land. 2, RS20 zoning is primarily intended to accommodate single-family detached dwellings in suburban areas and is intended for application in growth management areas 2, 3, and 4. Number 3, the subject property is located in Growth Management Area 5, and the proposed single-family residential use would be similar to the adjacent uses. Number 4, the proposed RS20S zoning would be inconsistent with the Legacy Comprehensive Plan and the Northeast Rural Area Study, which seeks to minimize more intensive residential development. But the proposed rezoning would increase development only from 14 to 15 allowable single-family homes and would have no appreciable impact on traffic. Number 5, the proposed RS20S rezoning would preserve more natural features and forested cover during construction than would be required by the present zoning. And number 6, this approval is deemed an amendment to the Legacy Comprehensive Plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Motion by Vice Chair Wizenhut, second by Commissioner Linville. Is there any more discussion?
One minor item, Mr. Chairman. I wonder if Vice Chair Wizenhut would drop 2 words that are now superfluous in item 5, where it says it would preserve more natural features and forested cover during construction than would be required. And since the petitioner agreed to removing the construction period only limitation, this does not change anything in the conditions. It just recognizes as part of the rationale that the proposed RS20S rezoning would preserve more natural features and forested cover.
So you would like to strike during construction?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that
I'm agreeable.
it's agreeable to Vice Chair Wizenhut?
Yes.
Agreeable to Commissioner Linville?
Yes.
Yes, good. All righty.
Well, we're still in discussion, right?
Yes.
I know that we've kind of surpassed, but I just need to make sure that the petitioner's okay with that.
Yes.
Were they okay with that?
Just
Okay,
came
fair
up.
enough. All right, I'm okay.
Came
Thank
up
you.
personally to
I just wanted to be sure.
attest to that fact.
That's no
Make
problem.
sure we were
Fair
clear.
enough, that's fine. Thank you.
Good. All righty. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Dave.
Oh, Dave? Sorry, Commissioner Plyler. I heard you. Thank you, Commissioner Plyler. I'm sorry. All right, the next item on the agenda is a resolution declaring the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners' intent to close the last 225 feet of Plemons Road and calling a date for a public hearing on the matter. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Aye.
Thank you, Dave. I heard you. Thank you. On top of it. The fifth item on the agenda is a resolution redesigning the site of the Forsyth, redesignating the site of the Forsyth County Courthouse. For those of the audience, we're opening our courthouse on October 23rd, our new one next door, and the law requires that we designate the site of the courthouse, and it is now changing on October 23rd. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Vice Chair Wizenhut,
Second.
second by Commissioner McDaniel. All in favor, please say aye. Wait for you, Dave.
Aye.
Commissioner?
Aye.
Aye, an aye for me.
Aye.
Motion?
Aye.
Aye, good. Motion carries unanimously. That's probably not the best way. Here we go. The next item on the agenda are two resolutions authorizing the sheriff's office to sell retiring canines to their handlers and to sell service weapons and badges to retiring officers or survivors of officers killed in the line of duty. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve by Vice Chair Wizenhut, second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Do you mind going back to number 3, which is the resolution for Domestic Violence Awareness Month?
What, did I miss that? I apologize. I did. I skipped the page. Stuck to the thing. We'll go back to item number 3 is a resolution recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and recognizing the efforts of Bridges to Hope Family Justice Center of Forsyth County. And also we have Commissioner McDaniel will actually read the proclamation, and we'd like to invite Dewana Hammond, Family Justice Center Director, and others that are a part of that. And some of us at the last minute got our purple on here, but so we have a lot of purple folks here today, and we appreciate that. And we are now ready.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a resolution recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and recognizing the efforts of Bridges to Hope Family Justice Center of Forsyth County. Whereas October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and domestic violence affects all people regardless of age, sex, gender, race, ethnicity, ability, religion, and social economic background in Forsyth County. Whereas domestic violence, a form of interpersonal violence, consists of a pattern of learned behavior resulting in the use of power and control of one person over a partner and other family members. Whereas tactics may include physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, and financial abuse and isolation from family, friends, and supportive systems. Whereas children who witness or are victims of emotional, physical, or sexual abuse are at a higher risk of physical and mental problems as adults. Whereas the North Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence identified 48 domestic violent related homicides in North Carolina during January through June 2023, including 20 murder-suicides with victims ranging from ages 10 through 65, and one specifically in Forsyth County. Whereas July the 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, 1,123 complaints were filed for the emergency ex parte domestic violence protective orders. 422 calls were made to the Family Services Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Crisis Line. And the Forsyth County District Attorney's Office disposed 1,834 domestic violence criminal cases, of which 73% were the Winston-Salem Police Department cases, and 27% of the cases were from the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office and Kernersville Police Department combined. The Winston-Salem Police Department reported 4,284 domestic violence incidents, 250 domestic violence protective order violations, and 8 domestic violent-related homicides. And the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office reported 2,500 offenses flagged for domestic violence, serving 695 domestic violence papers, and there were 229 violent-related incidents, plus 3 homicides reported from the Kernersville Police Department. And whereas Bridges to Hope's Family Justice Center of Forsyth County offers to the survivors at no cost and who are impacted by the domestic violence and sexual assault, child mistreatment, elder abuse, and human trafficking in one trauma-informed location on the Health and Human Services campus by the committed and engaged partners on-site and off-site, including the Children's Law Center of North Carolina, Forsyth Services Incorporated, the offices of the Forsyth County Clerk of Court, Forsyth County Health and Human Services, the Forsyth County District Attorney's Office, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, Human Relations, the DEI Department, the City of Winston-Salem, Kernersville Police Department, Legal Aid of North Carolina Department of Adult Correction, the Parenting Path, and the Police Department and other community organizations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Forsyth County Commissioners recognizes October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, recognizes Bridges to Hope Family Justice Center for its role in addressing domestic violence, and challenges all Forsyth County communities to explore, create, and produce collaborative solutions for prevention, intervention, and sustainable outcomes for families experiencing domestic violence, adopted this 5th day of October 2023.
I'll second Commissioner McDaniel's motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Before we, Mrs. Ham, would you like to say a word or two?
Yes, thank you.
Please do.
I appreciate that. Board of Commissioners, County Manager's Office, county leaders, other elected officials, community agencies represented, so many here today, and my fellow colleagues. Bridges to Hope Family Justice Center appreciates all support, all partnerships, on-site and off-site services for survivors and their children who take courageous steps to take their power back and provide us with useful insight into their world and help us develop survivor-centered care for their needs. A Family Justice Center requires all disciplines and perspectives to be present in planning and in the execution of services. Research tells us that clients follow through and stay the course when they can work face-to-face, in person with a provider who is kind-hearted, hope-centered, and trained in trauma-responsive care that's sitting across from them, reassuring them, and can assess their safety and risk in real time. We appreciate our partners who are here today, who have made the commitment to be in the center consistently to clients who need that personal touch. We appreciate the many referral follow-up contacts from partner agencies who are stretched in their capacity and personnel to serve, but who make the effort to be available to our clients. Make no mistake, at Bridges to Hope, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but we are here 12 months out of the year to serve clients experiencing violence and abuse. Everyone knows someone, and that one is one too many. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here today and for recognizing Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. I'd also, I'd like to acknowledge all of you, but I'd like to recognize our district attorney back there, Mr. Jim O'Neill. You can say a word or two if you'd like. You've been a part of this journey for a long, long time, from 707. I've been a part of it for 9 years, so
Yes, sir.
made a lot of progress, and I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You know, we started out here, I think Dewana was with us from the very beginning as well, and the reason that you see so many people here is because of Dewana Hamlin. You know, Dewana has brought this together for us. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't thank the county commissioners, $408,000 this past year to make this program work. And I ask you, and I say this every time I come back, how many programs do you put in place that actually every day save people's lives? This program saves people's lives. And the last thing I know there's lots on the agenda, but I just want to also thank Chantel Robinson. Chantel, you know, we, in Forsyth County here, we used to operate in separate silos and people were off doing their own thing. And Chantel has done a wonderful job bringing this together so that it's a more collaborative effort. And we're going to see even better things moving forward. We were the leader in the domestic violence fight 20 years ago. I was the first dedicated prosecutor in the state. And you look where we've come now. I think this is the best program in the state as well. And I thank the generosity of the county commissioners that keep this going year after year, and you've taken on the lion's share of this. Again, $408,000 dedicated to this program this year, and the numbers speak for themselves. So thank you all for what you do. Thank you, Mr. Watts, for giving us the opportunity to come in here today.
Thank you, and we appreciate the work of all the partners. Thank you. And I know that Todd Luck would like to get your pictures before you leave, so if you would just turn around where you are, he in the purple shirt is going to come around and get a picture, or maybe from that side. He's going to do the...
Todd, you want to go right at the back? Yeah, set you off the side.
Yeah, and some of you can come behind the podium, and that'll give a little more space. That's great.
Why Joshua sit down? He needs to come back.
Thank you again. All righty. I think we're back on track now. And Madam Clerk, do we have any calls or cards for the public session?
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 speaker cards.
Okay.
Our first speaker is Myrna Gatrost. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Myrna Gatros.
If you can just shift over to the microphone, the center one. Sorry, the tall, skinny one. All right, thank you.
My name is Myrna Gatros. I live at 4161 Gray Tuck Drive, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27107. I had a list of things to say, but I think one thing needs to be heard. Will you permit me to play a short video? I know I only have 3 minutes.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm standing inside my door of my house on Gray Tuck Drive, and Piedmont Hoist and Crane is sandblasting outside on their property across the field from our home. Sounds like they're on the west side of their building today. Sometimes they sandblast on the east side of their building. This is what myself and 3 other neighbors hear pretty much off and on every day, Monday through Friday. I've been here before to speak before another committee, I guess. It's been a while, a couple of years, but this has been going on for quite a few years. I don't know what else to say, but if you lived on that road, I'm sure you would ask somebody to do something. They're sandblasting outside of their building. Their employees wear top to bottom gear to protect themselves. But if they're using safe ingredients to do what they're doing, why would they need to wear full gear? But we, as neighbors who live fairly close, enough that you can hear what you heard, we are ignored because we don't know what it's going to do to environmental or to our health, and of course, our noise factor. There's no peace and quiet on this 5-house dead-end road for all 5 of us. No peace and quiet, and I'm sure every one of you would not like that. We don't know how the owner of the property acquired this permit to do it, but I understand that it's sandblasting outside, even if it is designated as commercial, is not permitted. And how they got through with it, we have speculations of how they got it through, but I'm not going to accuse, but I am going to ask that it be found out how they got it passed, because it is not allowed. It's not on the list of approved outdoor activity, even if it's commercial. But I hope you have a heart and you listen to what we say. I've been in this house for 23 years. All of a sudden, this Union Cross area is now designated as manufacturing and commercial. It's a big fight, but we've been fighting it. And also try to fight the fact that being that we're designated in that area, that other companies can come in and do the same thing. And that should not be allowed. Even if this company has got it permitted and there's nothing that can be done, is what we've been told, so be it. But stop it for the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jackie Seabolt, please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Jackie Seabolt. I live at 4153 Great Chalk Drive in Winston-Salem, directly behind Piedmont Hoist and Crane. I'm going to try to share what's been a 4-year experience in 3 minutes. It's not going to be easy, but I'm going to try. Just starting back in June of 2018, my husband and I went to a neighborhood meeting at Piedmont Hoist and Crane, which they now are located there. And during that meeting, a company representative told us that they worked on cranes. There would be some trucks, there might be some dust, but that's all we were told. That representative assured us, and I quote, "You won't even know we're here." During the planning and the commissioners meeting for Piedmont Hoist and Crane, a special use permit for manufacturing B was granted, and it was verbally stated during the planning and the zoning, the planning and the commissioners meeting, that there would be no outside manufacturing. So you guys approved that for manufacturing B, which your UDO states should be done inside an enclosed building. In 2019, the sandblasting began. The noise, as Ms. Gatros said, was throughout the day. It was so loud inside my entire house that it was impossible for me to make or take phone calls while I worked from home unless I went to the interior bathroom of my house and shut the door. At that point, I reached out to Mr. Watts, who began trying to help us, and the zoning department began issuing violations and fines to Piedmont Hoist and Crane, but the sandblasting still continued. And I later learned that a new permit was issued by the zoning department during the same time that that department was issuing stop work orders, violations, and fines to Piedmont Hoist and Crane to change from manufacturing B to manufacturing C, which does allow for outdoor fabrication and assembly. We as residents, we did our part by going to that meeting in 2018. We believe this company was truthful in what they said they would be doing. And you as commissioners voted to approve the manufacturing B, and they went and did exactly what they wanted from the get-go. That's the only piece of property in that area that is permitted to do that. I can't even go into the personal things, the dust and the noise that you can't escape, but I mentioned the word impact, and I've mentioned that several times, but I just want to leave you with this. My mother passed away on October 21st of 2021. She died at 1 o'clock that day, and it was on a Thursday. The only thing I wanted to do was go home and sit on my back porch and grieve the death of my mother. I couldn't do that because sandblasting made it impossible to do anything inside or outside my home. I just ask that you have this company do what they said they would do, and that you will revoke that permit and give us back our homes and the peace and the quiet that we as taxpayers deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Mahaffey, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name's Keith Mahaffey. I'm going to try, like she said, to condense a couple hours worth of information into 3 minutes. I apologize if I go just a hair long. I'm going to try my best to keep within that 3 minutes. I live at 3320 Stacy Court, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I want to thank everybody here for the opportunity to speak publicly to the board today. I've spoken with some people here on the board and have talked on the phone with you individually, and I'm trying to meet with everyone when we have the opportunity to give a more detailed picture of a problem, which is, as stated, outside sandblasting industrial going on in our community. We have accumulated over the past few years a powerful amount of information, including documents, emails, letters, audio, videos, to support our cause. We have sought and been given advice and support from various sources, which include elected and non-elected officials in our city and county and state, and have been counseled and advised by people with land use, zoning, and permitting experience. And we've been encouraged by all their support for our situation. And I'm here today representing the taxpaying citizens in this portion of Union Cross community in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. Most people are working 1 and 2 jobs. Some people are trying to raise families and have limited schedules. So I'm here today, and I have well over 100 names signed on petition, and we're still collecting more from people of all types of backgrounds living in our community. Some people have been living there a few years. Some people have been there 30-plus years. The purpose of these petitions in speaking before you guys is to bring together the residents of the Union Cross community and letting everybody here know, especially the Forsyth County Commissioners, of this activity taking place in our residential, mainly residential community, and to ask the commissioners to help us find a solution to a problem we've been dealing with for too long. Our Union Cross community as a whole is targeted for industrial development in the legacy plans by the City County Planning. We understand that. We know we're in a prime location. All we ask is that common sense, balanced planning be applied between the 2 business parks in our community. There is not a single business in either park, and I'm familiar with them because one of my jobs allowed me to go in and see these companies intimately. There's not a single business that does any outside manufacturing at all because it wouldn't be appropriate. And we all know that in any county in North Carolina or the state or the country, that if the term industrial outside sandblasting was mentioned in the process of zoning, permitting, all of that, that automatically red flags would go up and people would, there'd be major scrutiny given when considering approval, especially in a mainly residential area. Because this property, for what they're doing, it does not fit, it's out of character, it doesn't conform to the surrounding businesses, and it's not respectful to the residential population around it. Lastly, I'm about ready to finish. We as a community are not here to shut down a business.
we're pro-business, and we support hardworking, responsible businesses. We also are not here to single out any one person or persons. We've created relationships with city, county officials, and they're here today, and I want to thank them for meeting with us, talking. And most of them, well, all of them have been positive relationships, and I appreciate that. But unfortunately, we've just kind of been told that we're sorry this has happened, and there's not a lot we can do with it, and it's kind of hit a dead end. That is why we're making a final push to you all, the Forsyth County Commissioners, to step up and help us fix this situation that never should have happened in our county. One last thing. Our other big concern is this. If its precedent is allowed to stand, then other existing companies can go and change their permit without any public forum or anything. Or a company can come in on the undeveloped property around us, which there's still quite a bit of that, and they can manipulate the process. That is, we've gathered information here through the years, and that's what took place. They can manipulate the process, and they could come in and be an adverse situation to the surrounding community, and that includes even devaluing our properties. So, again, thank you for your time. I've got the petitions. Do I leave them, Miss Ashley? I also have, I don't know if it's appropriate, it's the first time I've been in this forum before, but I hate to just give somebody a nutshell or something, and I know I've talked with some of you, but I've got my notes and some areas that I wanted to address that I couldn't because of the 3-minute time limit, and I'd be glad to pass them out right now to each one of you if that was appropriate.
Giving them to
Ashley.
Our clerk would be great, and we'll be happy to. I think all of us are familiar with your situation.
Yep.
And the solution, unfortunately, is not as simple as snapping our fingers.
Right. We have been on this journey for quite a while. We've educated ourselves plenty about from the beginning, and I think that the time that's transpired since then has been quite a while, but it has allowed us to come up to speed as residents, because the whole planning, permitting processes in the city, counties, anywhere, they're not what Chris and Dudley and everybody does, and including you guys. It's a complicated thing, and it takes quite a bit of skill. We just feel like this situation has failed through the cracks. And we've had a company that we could show manipulated commissioners into voting a certain way, and then went back without anything said at all and changed it. And that's really not the way I don't think that you guys want the process to work. Thank you.
We hear you. Thank you.
Could I please just ask the attorney or Chris, is there a way to revoke the permit?
I'll defer to Chris, but I don't believe there is.
Yeah, it's a long and convoluted history. Whenever the original rezoning for the piece of property was approved in 2012, it was approved with the use manufacturing C, and it had a small building on it, and everything was done outside because it was the axle hauling location associated with Caterpillar. And whenever Caterpillar pivoted and sort of changed their manufacturing focus, I think they changed their focus or moved the axle hauling back on site, you had this piece of property. And Piedmont Hoist and Crane came forward and wanted to do a site plan amendment on the piece of property. Keep in mind, whenever the axle hauling operation was originally approved as a rezoning back in 2012, they had the use manufacturing A, manufacturing B, manufacturing C, warehousing. They had a long list of uses. So whenever Piedmont Hoist and Crane submitted for the site plan amendment, it wasn't a rezoning. It's treated like a rezoning, but it was a site plan amendment that came before the commissioners. Their
use that they had shown on the site plan. They had all the uses on there, but under the parking calculation, they said that they were the use manufacturing B, which was internal. So that's what the site plan said. The question was asked, and the question was answered by me that yes, based on what they have shown on this plan, they're proposing to do everything inside. And then get a call from the neighbors several years down the road once they have started operations out there. And again, we did begin the NOV process because, again, we were under the impression they had gotten their permits through our office, manufacturing B. After we sent that initial notice, they came back in and actually requested to use manufacturing C. It didn't change their site plan because their buildings were going to be where they were. There was areas outside where they could do the sandblasting. So the answer to your question, there's not really much way to revoke the permits because the commissioners back in 2012 with the original rezoning, not Piedmont Hoist and Crane, the original rezoning had used manufacturing C as a permitted use. And Piedmont Hoist and Crane in 2019, 2020 came back in and got a permit from us for the use manufacturing C, which was permitted, and it didn't change their plan. So everything has been done correctly. I can't say that it was, I don't know if that was their original intent, but the permits themselves have been issued correctly, and there aren't a lot of solutions outside of finding some way to encourage them to do these operations either inside of their existing buildings or construct a new building to do the sandblasting operations within.
Well, Chris, one of the most important things that I do as a commissioner is zoning because it's so everlasting. And I've seen the replay of the meeting where you specifically said there would be no outside dwelling. So that's what I'm going on. That's what I voted on. That's what I put my word on. And so I suggest that we go back and find some way to help these folks because I feel responsible for how they're living, and I don't like it.
And Commissioner, we'll be happy to look into whether there's some legal recourse either for the individuals affected or the county itself for the situation.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask Chris a question. Chris, is there a specific time that they're supposed to be doing this sandblasting? Is this happening all day into the afternoon, at night?
I would have to defer to the neighbors. They're, basically they have to comply with the noise ordinance, which isn't enforced by, from a zoning standpoint, it's enforced by the sheriff's department if it's enforced at all. So I can't speak to specifically when it's being done. They would perhaps be better able to answer that. It's my understanding it's done from the morning until the evening, but I don't know that it's being done after hours, overnight, those kind of things.
Sure. Yes, sir, if you can tell me. Yes, absolutely.
I want to follow the form. This company is intermittent when they do it. Okay. And a lot of time it's probably because of their workload. Like I said, I'm a pro-business person. I'm a small to medium-sized private sector, create jobs for people. That's what I'm about. Yes. So I'm not here trying to denigrate this company at all, but they came in. What makes it odd is the property is in the county and it's surrounded on 4 sides by city. All of us on the petitions are city residents. There is only one little piece in the county there. And I'm sure that's advantageous to that company because they pay half the taxes. And hey, if I was a business person, I'd be looking for it too. Sure. It's just inappropriate, in my opinion, and I don't want to get into opinions and accusing, but if I were a business owner and I was going to be doing something that damaging or noise-wise, that loud in a community, I would do my due diligence in looking for the right spot to do it in. Yeah. And this is clearly not the right spot. I don't know how it all went down between a developer and the or a real estate person, or I know I've got 2 hours of information I could talk about the way economic development and everything works. I've got stuff here that I wasn't able to read that gives more details. I know that in our city and county that taxes are a major thing.
Yes.
Economic development, they want to bring in companies, and sometimes the residential concerns get pushed to the side.
That's okay. So I just wanted to, I guess my question, I wasn't here in 2012, but I wanted to ensure or find out what times of the day that you're having to contend with this. Is this happening at night after 8 or 9?
It starts about
and then
7:15
does
or
it-
7:30 on most days when they're doing it.
And you're dealing with it
can
on the
go
weekend
till,
as well?
It can go mainly to the afternoon to probably 3 or 4 o'clock, and then occasional Saturdays.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add one other thing. I had extended discussions with County Attorney Watkins about use of the noise ordinance in a situation like that. It seems, based on what I've heard today and in previous discussions with residents, that the number one concern is the noise. That the county has had environmental health check out the situation for numerical decibel limit violations. However, there is also an underlying county statute which has a narrative standard that applies whether or not a specific decibel limit has been violated. It's more difficult to interpret and enforce, but it is an available tool that prohibits what would be considered unreasonable noise in terms of the nature, duration, and timing. And I think a clear argument could be made that this is a situation in which the nature, timing, and duration of the noise is a violation of the narrative standard. I don't know whether we would have to ask the sheriff to investigate it since it's in the county as opposed to within the city limits. But nothing would keep us from making that request, I think, as one of the options for exploration.
Yeah, we could enforce it out of environmental assistance and protection as well, which is where we have done that. So, and had pretty good success with voluntary compliance. In this particular case, we have had no success with voluntary compliance.
I'm not surprised.
From a couple of different angles. So perhaps if the attorney will let us go into closed session and talk about the potential for a more aggressive effort around compliance, that would be helpful. I'll leave it up to Gordon to make a determination if that's helpful or not, or possible or not.
I think that's a good idea. All righty.
Ready for me?
County Manager, it is now time for the agenda.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, board members and staff and guests. We do have some business items for consideration this afternoon. We have reviewed these in briefing sessions and hopefully have answered all your questions. So I'll go ahead and dive into them. Agenda item 8 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget ordinance. It appropriates $1,337,137 from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services for Agreement Addendum 716. It's a COVID-19 vaccination program. Its focus is around removing barriers to address to accessing vaccines, increasing vaccine confidence, increasing COVID-19 services, and expanding the vaccination programs.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Wizenhut, second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Listen for you, Commissioner Blyler.
Mr. Chairman, he's muted.
You're muted, Dave. We see your lips moving, but we can't hear you.
He can give us a thumbs up. How about that? How about a thumbs up?
Thumbs up would work.
There we go. Clap works too. There you go.
All right. Gotcha.
Very good. Agenda
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 9 is an amendment to the fiscal year '24 budget. It appropriates $35,194 from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services for Agreement Addendum 914, addressing lead in water and lead-based paint in public schools and child care facilities. Really, it's around testing and remediation in both of those circumstances, and asbestos, actually, in the schools program.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Wizenhut. I'll second that. Do we have any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Oh, Dave? I think you're yes. I can see half of your face. That's a yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Very good. Agenda item 10 is an amendment to the fiscal year 23-24 budget ordinance. It increases to $75,000 the special appropriation for Harry Veterans Community Outreach Services. Essentially, in the appendix that was adopted by the board, that number was incorrect, and this corrects that factor.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel. Have a second? Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, yes. All right. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Agenda item 11 is an amendment to the fiscal year 23-24 budget. It appropriates $53,019 from the United States Environmental Protection Agency. The original grant was approved previously. It was actually funded at a higher level, so this corrects that.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. 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 Very good. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Agenda item 12 is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a grant from the Winston-Salem Foundation Incorporated awarded to Forsyth County, North Carolina Cooperative Extension for the expansion of community gardens in Forsyth County. You got an associated budget ordinance amendment that increases from $4,000 to $8,000 the grant amount for this year.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Vice Chair Wizenhut.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 13 is a resolution authorizing submission of an application to the North Carolina Department of Transportation to apply for and accept, if awarded, a fiscal year 23-24 Rural Operating Assistance Program, or ROAP grant for the Elderly and Disabled Transportation Assistance, or EDTAP program, and the Employment Transportation Assistance Program, the EMPL, and Rural General Public, RGP, Transportation Program. The award amount's $163,961.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Very good. You've got a number of contracts to consider. Item 14 is a resolution authorizing execution of a contract with EBSCO Publishing Incorporated. It provides library staff and customers access to the online database resources. It's an amount not to exceed $67,190.
Have a motion?
Motion to approve. Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner McDaniel. I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Got it, Dave. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, item 15 is a resolution awarding a contract for the purchase of a new STREAM mobile lab for the Forsyth County Public Library. This was an ARPA-funded project, and this would award a contract to Don Brown Bus Service and not to exceed $403,170.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel. Second. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 16 is a resolution approving a contract for continued service for the FC Connect solution. This takes dollars really already appropriated for that project and allows us to enter a contract with Cherry Beckert to help us sort of coordinate the FC Connect services and really get some reporting that we need, not only for the annual audit, but just to move our system forward.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item 17 has two parts. It's a resolution ratifying and authorizing execution of a mutual assistance agreement between Forsyth County, the city of Winston, and the town of Kernersville for the temporary assistance in enforcing the laws of the state of North Carolina. You've got an associated resolution around the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program Traffic Safety Project Grant Award for the continuation of the DWI Joint Task Force.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. See Dave, any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item 18 is also a sheriff's matter. It's a resolution approving the purchase of law enforcement video collaboration platform services and awarding a contract to Fusus LLC. It is a 5-year contract, but there is a non-appropriation clause actually in the contract that's pretty standard for those. In the event the board does not want to appropriate the dollars, the first year amount is $115,000 of the 5-year agreement.
Motion.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, we've got one property matter. It's a resolution declaring certain county-owned property buildings located at 3290 and 3230 North Liberty Street surplus and authorizing their demolition. You've got item B as part of that, a resolution awarding a contract for the demolition of structures at those addresses to Double D Construction Services. It was competitively bid. It's not to exceed $169,549.18, and that is that will be used kind of future parking and storage of equipment there for the schools and for the county and for the sheriff's department.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, you got one appointments item. It is 3 appointments for the Forsyth County Health and Human Services Board. I don't usually read that, but I do believe that the Health and Human Services Board put names into nomination, and so you are voting for one. Is that correct, Chantel?
Mr. Manager, at each of the commissioners' seats, there's a tally sheet from the Health and Human Services Board meeting last night. For the at-large position, Carmelita Coleman received 6 votes, which is not majority, but she received the most votes for the at-large position. For the Consumer of Human Services, it was unanimous with Heather Parker, and for the registered nurse, Sharon Petty Ford received unanimous vote as well.
Thanks for saving me, Ashley.
Right, so everyone should just indicate on your sheet for the vote for one and sign it, and we'll get that handled. That's for the group for the one appointment for your term.
For the at-large position.
At-large position, thank you.
Would you like me to say the names of the?
Yeah, well, please.
We had, it was the capacity, one appointment for at-large, and we had Candace Dufour, Sharika Freeman, Brian Forrest, and Kevin Sharp, along with Camille Light Coleman. You may vote for one of them.
Thank you. I don't want anybody to think we overlooked them. I don't want anybody to think that we overlooked them.
Commissioner Plyler, can you hear me? Just nod your head. Actually, if you can hear me, County Manager Dudley Watts is going to give you a call. You got your cell phone? He's going to call you. Oh, can you get it?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Plyler needs to be heard audibly to participate in the meeting.
Can you get your sound on, Commissioner Plyler? Should be a little speaker down there somewhere.
If I could get him on his phone, I could put my speakerphone.
Yeah, you could. You actually could, but he doesn't have his phone.
That's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? No.
We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me.
We can.
Hey, let's make this religious program. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow.
All righty. We're voting on members of the Health and Human Services Board, and we just had a group. Actually, I've already turned it in, but we had a group of 6 for the at-large membership, and I'm going to ask our clerk, Ashley Sloop, to read them, and she'll tell you that the first name is the one that was recommended by the Health and Human Services Board to us. So after you hear those names, you can go with the recommendation or not. Maybe just ask you that question. Would you be willing to go with the?
No, I will go.
All righty, so he
I
is
will go
voting
with the
for
recommendation.
Carlita. I think it's the correct name. Hang on, we've got a couple others.
Mr. Chairman, Carmelita Coleman received 5 votes, and Bryant Forias received 2 votes.
All right. So Carlita is a successful candidate. All righty. For the second one, I'll let Vice Chair Wizenhut take that over.
The second one, the capacity was consumer of human services. Our incumbent is Heather Parker, and the citizen wishing to serve is Helen K. Interest. You may vote for one.
So
I would vote for Heather Parker.
the recommended one is Heather Parker, and Ellen K. Indris is the other one. Which did you say, Dave?
I'd vote for Heather Parker.
Okay.
Heather Parker.
All righty.
Mr. Chairman, Heather Parker received 7 votes.
All righty.
Okay, our next appointment is for a registered nurse. Our incumbent is Sharon Pettiford. The citizen wishing to serve is Katina Little. You may vote for one.
So Dave, the recommended one
Sharon
is?
Pettiford.
Yes, all right, got it.
Sharon Pettiford.
Very good.
In case you didn't hear, my vote is for Sharon Pettiford.
We got it. Thank you, Commissioner Plow.
Mr. Chairman, Sharon Pettiford received 7 votes.
All righty. Very good. We are now, after the appointments, we're at the Tax Administration Report, item 21.
Yep, right. We've got 2 more items, item 21 and 22. I believe you could take together. Item 21 is a resolution approving refunds by the tax assessor collector in the amount of $1,076.15, and item 22 is the July and August 23 contribution-based benefit cap report.
Move to approve.
Have a motion approved by Commissioner Limble,
Second.
second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
In favor, Dave?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Aye,
All-
yes.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, I believe that is it for the formal meeting, Mr. Chairman. We do have a briefing to follow.
All right, do we need to take a little break to We'll switch over. Let's take about a 10-minute recess. our first briefing for the Thursday, October 19th meeting. And we have no discussion items today. And we will be having a closed session after we go through the briefing, and I'll ask our county manager to go over the briefing items.
Yep. And I did want to see if between Ashley and Damon, they could talk a little bit about next Thursday, because we are doing our ribbon cutting on the courthouse next Thursday. It's kind of in the middle of the move, and then that building will open up as our new courthouse on the 23rd.
So Thursday, October 12th, from 10 to 12, there'll be a little bit of a pause, at least moving in from the front, where we'll have an event, where we'll have ribbon cuttings and comments. It'll take place, if it's not raining, in the area in between the government center and the new courthouse. If it is raining,
outside.
That's right. And if it is raining, we'll go inside to the, probably to the jury assembly space. So it'll be pretty straightforward. We'll have remarks. There'll be a tent, there'll be water and so forth. I'm trying to invite everybody who feel like needs to be there. If you get a chance, ask Ashley to see the list. And if there's somebody that we ought to invite that we haven't, we can do that. So it'll be next Thursday, the 12th, from 10 to probably about 12. And as far as tours, there'll be some things moved in, so we, unless the courthouse staff give a personal tour beyond the public spaces, you basically be able to view the public spaces, because they'll be moving in their documents in the back. We don't want a lot of people traipsing back there with their court documents, and so forth. But the public areas, which are probably the more interesting, will be available for people to view.
Okay, all righty.
Yeah, did you want to add anything, Ashley, to that? Yeah.
Invitations went out electronically, and if you would like to see the list, I will send it. I'll just send it to the board as a whole. That way you can look at the list, and if there are any additions, we're happy to send them out as well.
Yeah, there have been so many people involved in that project for literally decades that we went through contact lists and even sent some emails out to get folks to remind folks. Even, there were some key people in that process who have since passed, and we thought about inviting their surviving family members, because they were, that was a long process over a lot of years that involved a lot of people.
So I would like to say, I know that a lot of people probably don't check emails, so is it possible for us to place a ad in the Winston-Salem Journal and the Chronicle, just for notification?
Yeah, it is absolutely possible. Yeah, and we do have some contracts that Ed's working on, because we're buying some space now. We will.
I'll get in touch with Ed to make that happen, and then all of our social media outlets will know that as well.
Social media, but I think the newspapers are a good hit as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. And if you think of something else this is a process of what are we missing, and inevitably we're going to miss something. So
Hear somebody saying they didn't check.
They
the email,
didn't.
So yes, please. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, very good.
I have something.
Yes, Dave?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Bob.
I have, it comes under the heading of something you didn't know. Every time a commissioner whispered from one to the other, it came through in stereo sound. So it wasn't a secret. It was a whisper that was broadcast from that building to everybody who was tuned in to enjoy the program, as I was. I thought it's a compliment to the people who run the sound system for the county commissioners.
Thank you for the feedback from watching a meeting. Thank you, Commissioner Platter.
All right. So as the chairman said, we basically, I'm just going to briefly introduce the items for the October 19th meeting. We do have a closed session motion. And so on October 19th, there actually are no public hearing matters, so you don't have any presentations today. So I'll just kind of briefly review the other things that we're working on. Ashley's working on the minutes for the September 21st meeting and the meeting we just held. You've got two budget and finance items. Both of them are fairly routine. You've got a public health addenda item 54064 for communicable disease pandemic recovery. You also have an item that is really the hiring directing us to go ahead and move forward and hire some additional positions associated with Medicaid expansion, since we know that is now a reality. And so we'll get an update, kind of what we know about Medicaid expansion and what's out in front of us, and that's changing almost day to day. So item 4 is actually a continuation of the item today where you had the grant award for this monitoring equipment. That's actually accepting that grant to do that and then going and purchasing it. You got, I think, 6 contract items here. One of them is an ARPA-related item for the purchase of Chromebooks. You've got some more library items around the lease books program that we have underway. You've got a resolution authorizing the county manager to approve change order for the interagency communications 800 megahertz system replacement project. That is for our new members, that is a long project that's been worked on for a number of years, very, very expensive project, but it basically replaces that 800 megahertz radio system that really is sort of the joint system that's used by city and county public safety agencies, and so you'll get an update on that project as well. You've got a resolution authorizing the purchase of pharmaceuticals to run our pharmacy. You got 2 items related to equipment for vehicles and repair of vehicles when they get damaged in accidents. Kirby's been working hard on a bunch of property matters. Item 11 is that property at Haynes Mill Road. I think we're finally coming close to a solution around that with North Carolina Department of Transportation. We were trying to get that done. That project is underway. Item 12 is execution of a lease agreement between Forsyth County and Wake Forest University Health Sciences. That's the Amos Cottage property there. That is the one that the board, I think, very appropriately questioned the value of that property, and that is the lease that's for a temporary period while Wake Forest moves out of that facility, and they are in agreement with the lease terms with compensation included, so that will be helpful. And then item 13 is really related to the project at the airport, Smith World's Airport Terminal. There's actually a stained glass panel in there that really was not part of the renovation project that we're talking about moving. The Muse, Winston-Salem Museum is interested in obtaining that on a loan basis, and so that will be there. And so Mark can also talk about the airport project with that, and then you've got reports. So it's a fairly straightforward agenda next Thursday that we'll dive into, but we are still putting the final touches on it. Other than that, I just have a closed session motion, Mr. Chairman.
Would you read our appropriate motion, please?
All right, very good. Need to ask the board to consider a motion to go into closed session to discuss a matter to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer, an employee, or prospective public officer or employee pursuant to provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143, 31811A6, and a matter to consult with the attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143, 31811A3. Since there's no other business to come forward the board at this meeting following the closed session, the meeting will be adjourned.
Mr. Manager, I think there might be 2 attorney-client matters.
2 occurring. Thank you.
All righty, I'll make that motion to a second. Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Got, all right. Commissioner Bessie, Vice Chair Wizenhut. All in favor, please say aye.
Bye, Dave.
Bye, Dave.